Hi everyone, welcome to Toyota Connected. Everybody enjoying good food and little libations? Great. So I'm going to start off with a little survey, right? How many of you know who Douglas Adams is? He wrote The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, right? He had a few essays that were recorded, and one of the things he wrote was really prevalent to how people adopt technology today. So there are the people who are between the ages of 0 and 15. And when they're born with the technology, it's natural to them because that's the way the world is. Then there are the people who are about 15 to 35, right? And it's new, it's cool, kind of like AI right now, right? And maybe they can get a job someday. Then there's the old people, right? I don't pretend to be one of them, but and anybody above the age of 35 think new technology is a natural order, right? So this is a little bit about myself. I love building teams. I lead engineering. I like to introduce myself as a recovering software engineer. I wrote some code at some point in time. But I think I'm this guy with AI, right? But a little bit about myself really quickly. I'm an immigrant, I'm a tech tinker, and I'm a team builder. So welcome to TC. We're really excited to talk about artificial intelligence and how it's going to transform everything that we do. Is this true? AI is everywhere right now, right? But I love memes. I also love data. Let's talk about data, right? So let's do the follow the money exercise. Last year, 92% of the S&P 500 was accrued by the Magnificent Seven, shown on the right, on my right. On my left are the AI investments that are going to be happening over the next several years, right? It's increasing quite a bit, and this is where the money is going. As such, this is a super cycle, right? So a super cycle is actually defined as a sustained period of expansion where products and services actually get built. What you're seeing today is the infrastructure getting built out in this super cycle, right? Many of you may own the NVIDIA stock. You're probably really happy that infrastructure is getting built up layer by layer by layer from software to hardware, from hardware to software, right? And what it's going to create really is about a 2% GDP increase over time. But this is not a sprint, right? We're just a few steps in, but we're moving really, really, really fast. So, raise show of hands, how many people have iPhones, right? How many people remember when the iPhone was released, right? Okay, good. Are you group 1 or 2 or 3? That said, when the iPhone came out, the App Store didn't come out till 3 years later, around 2011, right? The top apps in the store were Facebook, Skype, TapTap, Revenge, Word with Friends, Angry Birds, and whatnot. So the iPhone moment happened for AI, and that was ChatGPT. But I don't believe the killer apps have landed yet. There are a bunch of toy apps. I think we'll probably talk about chat, search, extraction patterns, maybe natural language to query language, and other patterns like that. But what the value to be created is probably going to be greater than $1 trillion that Apple estimated for their app ecosystem, right? So the big companies and the big organizations that were created was the iOS economy specifically for Uber, Spotify, and Instagram, just to name a few. So how do we bring this back to Toyota? And this is a hard jump because many people ask me this question, and we're here at Toyota Connected. We're building software for the future. We've been building AI here since 2017. I have a team here that builds a voice assistant that's in market today, and we're going to make it better in future generations, right? But what we do here at Toyota Connected is we take our core value of customer first, right? Our approach to AI will be no different to our core value. We will listen to our customers on what brings them delight and happiness, right? And we'll do it responsibly as well. So this is a really good panel. I have an esteemed crowd here, and I'm really excited that I get to share the stage with these gentlemen here. So I'm going to hand it over to Dan now. Welcome to TC.
All right, thanks, Dave. Yeah, really appreciate it. And we're all here because we all want to know what's going on with AI, right? But it's not just AI. The fact that we start AI Connects is because we see that there's so much potential with AI technology and how we can actually help the communities. I have invited a lot of the nonprofit and the communities that also try to raise awareness, not just about AI, but also try to help the community grow bigger and bigger. And I see North Texas being one of the hub of the future. Can you raise your hand if you're from nonprofit or the communities that are here tonight? Yes. So we have a lot of the Tech Titan, and we have ELPS from here, and then DEC Network, right? And so many people, and also Frisco Inclusion Committee, Alma, right? I love when we first start talking to Alma, the first thing she asked, can AI Connects come and help teach underrepresented Hispanic-speaking kids about AI? And I quickly said, yes, that's exactly what we want to do, right? And I think now everybody have exact same tool, same access to the technology that could elevate everybody to the same level, no matter what kind of family you're in. And I wanted to be able to spread that message to everybody, not just to the business people, but to the community. And that's why I started this AI Connects. And just like the name, we wanted to use AI to connect everybody, from the business leaders to technology leaders, community leaders, to the kids, and everybody in the world. We actually are a global organization. Next month, I have an event in Thailand and Singapore coming up. And yeah, we're expanding quickly through the help of everybody's here. And Toyota being one of our great supporters. And as you can see tonight, it wouldn't happen unless everybody's staff of Toyota Connected has helped us. So again, I really appreciate Dave, Will, Corey, and everybody, Kaori-san, to allow us to be here and get all the leaders in this community together. And the vision of AI Connects is actually, I see Texas as the next AI capital of the world. That's what we want to make it happen here. And 2026, you all know what's coming here? Anybody know what's the big event coming here to Texas?
World Cup.
World Cup, right. But even until now, I asked 90% of the people, they don't know what's coming here, right? They don't know World Cup is coming here. And I tell everybody, it's not just World Cup. The whole world is coming here, right? And do we want to show the world just soccer and let them go home? I said no, right? I think we can show them something else. And that's why I want everybody to come together, tonight and every month and every night. We're gonna meet, we're gonna talk, collaborate, raise the awareness. Because by 2026, my goal is to have the biggest AI conference in the world here, the AI World Expo 2026. And I know Toyota is a big sponsor of soccer, so maybe they can sponsor, AI World Expo as well. So, yeah, but if we can make that happen, the whole world gonna come back twice, thrice, 10 more times, because they see there's more than just soccer, there's more than just sports here. There's a big business opportunity here in Texas, and that's what I want to make it happen. And that's the only way every community, right, will elevate. Because all this business opportunity gonna come here, not just for AI, but it's for the whole community too. You're gonna see Uber, you're gonna see, hotel, restaurant gonna thrive because of this. And that's why I tell everybody, AI Connects is not about AI, right? It's about community, it's about trust, about human connection, things that AI doesn't do. I want to represent things that AI doesn't do. And that's what makes us human, now and in the future. So thanks everybody for coming here. Just a little bit about, AI Connects. We're at the end looking at us as the center of everything. We want to be the ultimate ecosystem for AI and everything. Everybody can come to us for startup, can come to us for funding, community can come to us for education. We want to be able to connect everybody together. and that's our core value. So thank you again, everybody. And we have a next panel speakers coming up, and they're the best in the industry, and I'm sure you wanted to hear what's going on in AI, automotive, manufacturing, and so on. So please welcome Dave and everybody.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am going to be the moderator for today's panel. And before we get started, I guess a quick introduction for myself. I'm Justin Hutchins. I generally go by Hutch. And I am an innovation principal at Trace3, as well as the author of the recently published book, The Language of Deception, Weaponizing Next Generation AI. And that's a book that looks at the adversarial risk potential of artificial intelligence. And before we get started into the panel, I wanted to very briefly talk about the topic of convergence. It wasn't very long ago that artificial intelligence professionals worked in each of their own disciplines in distinct silos and had very little to say to one another. You had your quants and your fintech guys that did their regressions to forecast the market. Us in cybersecurity were using classification algorithms to paint the world as either malicious or not. Recurrent neural networks were used for natural language processing. Convolutional neural networks were used for computer vision. For robotics, we had conditional logic and reinforcement learning. And the average person had very little understanding of what artificial intelligence even was. And now we are seeing a tremendous convergence, like nothing we've ever seen before. And nowhere has this been more true in terms of technology than the transformer architecture. In 2017, this was a feed-forward architecture that was built to improve natural language processing. But we started rapidly discovering as a community that it worked for so many other things. In addition to being able to tokenize and perform predictions on language, it also worked with image data. It also worked with audio and video. It even works for kinetic data that describes actions that allow the creation of real-world interactions and robotics at scale. And this technology is revolutionizing the entire world, from everything from generative AI all the way up to manufacturing operations and autonomous driving. But it's not just the technology. We're also seeing convergence in the community as well. Artificial intelligence is now largely the reason why we're starting to see organizations commission cross-functional teams to bring people together in order to identify new and creative ways to accelerate their own operations. We're starting to see the creative ways that Bob in HR is using artificial intelligence may be just as useful for Sue, who works in accounting. And so there's a term that we use in artificial intelligence, and that term is positive transfer. And positive transfer is this idea that as we have larger and larger generalized artificial intelligence systems, as they learn information in a particular area or domain, they are able to use the lessons learned in that domain and cross-apply it to other adjacent domains. Of course, this term also stems from cognitive psychology and developmental psychology, where we see children learning in a very similar way. But it also can apply to community structures. If there's adequate communication between people, we can have this same level of positive transfer by me learning what I can from you and you learning what I can from me. Isaac Newton once said, "If I have seen far, it is because I have stood on the shoulders of giants." And that is what I encourage you guys to do, is lift each other up and begin breaking down those silos, those walls, because now more than ever, it doesn't matter what industry you work in, it doesn't matter what sector you work in, it doesn't matter what your job is. There's a high possibility that anybody that you interact with, there are lessons that you can learn from them and lessons that you can teach them as well. And that's one of the things that I love about what Dan and AI Connects is doing, is that it's not just about artificial intelligence. It's about artificial intelligence and community, bringing people together and being able to learn from the knowledge that all of us share based on our unique and different backgrounds. So it's for that reason that I'm actually thrilled to be here today moderating this panel of esteemed professionals and leaders across the industry who have their own extremely impressive backgrounds in various different sectors and industries, but also are leaders in the space of artificial intelligence and in integrating that into the business world that we know today. So with that, I want to go ahead and welcome up to the stage again, Dave Tsai, who we have already seen. And because one Dave is never enough, we also have Dave Kops, who is the CEO and founder of Worlds.io. And then we also have Kip Howard, who's the CEO and founder of Spacey. And then Lamont Orange, Chief Information Security Officer at Cyera. And so with that, speaking of unique backgrounds, I'd like to take a brief moment for each of you to take a few moments to tell us about your background, how you got into the role that you're currently in, and what that journey looks like. So Lamont, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Sure. Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thanks for spending time with us here and to, now I'm mic'd up. All right. Thanks for spending your evening with us to hear about AI. Again, my name is Lamont Orange. I am the Global Chief Information Security Officer for Cyera. And how I got into this space is when we start talking about machine learning, that's where we all started. And as we got to supervised machine learning, now we're getting more to unsupervised machine learning. I started to try to implement those into security programs to make my teams more efficient. And that's when you get the, oh, what can it do? Is it level 1? Is it level 2, level 3? You know, we start having some of those conversations. And I've had the pleasure of working for several cybersecurity company, packaged software companies, where I have the challenge of dealing with all the data scientists that didn't normally talk to one another, that now all want to convolute to say, hey, we can put this in our product. How can I do it safely? Well, they don't ask me that. They just say they want to do it. I tell them this is how we're going to do it safely. So that's the other side of my role, is to not only use it to empower and innovate the security programs, and really help us to innovate across the business, so that in the business say they have this idea, we can say we can scale to it, we can handle it. But also protecting many of you and your companies, and how we use it in a product that's going to help you deal with the data problem.
All right, background and how we got here. It all started when I was 3. Just kidding. Not that far. Okay. No. So we're I guess a DEX success story. The way I got started is I went to a Connect hackathon in Dallas, and I was just blown away what this little, computer vision device in the hand of developers, what it could do. And I sucked at it, but I just dedicated life. And then I started a company around some of the capabilities it can do, Spacey. And so ran into some challenges, went to the deck, started asking some of their co-founders, what do you think I should do about these problems? And they said, start a meetup and host it here. So I started a computer vision meetup group. It's I think it's number 2 in the nation in terms of size, and it's in Dallas, Texas, dwarfed by Dallas AI, which I encourage everybody to join. It's awesome. And then fast forward, I'll tell you a really quick story, background story, right? So we started off by projecting touchscreens onto the world, like making touch cars and touch walls and all that fun stuff with making light interactive. And we're over at Coca-Cola in Brussels, and we got more advanced. We made products interactive. You pick up a product and you get a digital reaction like an ad. And so the lady running this whole endeavor for Coke said, yeah, but I'm going to teach you guys about retail. And she mixes up all the products and rolls one down the table and says, see, I just broke your tech, right? And she picked up the Coke and it worked. And she said, how the hell do you do that, right? And I was like, oh, it's computer vision. This is not complicated. And she said, can you tell me how many Cokes are on that table? We're like, yeah. And then she said, follow me. So we went to a grocery store, and she said, if you can tell me how many Cokes are on that shelf in all of Europe, that's worth several $100 million to my company. I was like, oh, we should probably go do that. And that's how we got into these miniature supply chain robots that use computer vision to understand what's on a shelf. So that's kind of my background.
I don't think this works.
There you go.
Hi, my name's Dave Kops. I guess I'm kind of an incurable entrepreneur. I figured out a long time ago I just don't like to have a job. My wife says I'm unemployable, and that's why I start companies. But I built 2 software companies and sold AI companies and sold them. I'm on my 3rd right now. My first company was a company that built a semantic search engine. So we built an engine, AI engine that could learn dynamically from information and start to understand it, and you could talk to the engine. It's a lot like ChatGPT, but nowhere near the scale. And then my second company was BrainSpace. We sold that to private equity about 5 years ago. We were in digital investigations, so we figured out how to build an AI that could literally read hundreds of millions of documents and start to connect the concepts and thoughts and ideas and all the documents into a unified, what we called a collective intelligence, a brain. That's why, hence the name BrainSpace. And then people could use that brain to then kind of find people and things and find bad guys. And so we got really big in the e-discovery industry, the legal. So when these hundreds of millions of documents came in for lawsuits and things like that, we could kind of find bad guys really quickly. We sold that company to private equity in 2017. I started my new company, Worlds. Probably a year and a half later, I think a year later, maybe we took some time off and had to put our toes in the sand, and then kind of just got the band back together, basically the original 5 people, and just kind of started talking about what we want to do next. And realized what we did before was kind of back office AI. It's AI that helped back office data and things like that. Where we saw the biggest challenge was AI in the real world. And so we thought, what if we could build an AI? Like, what if we could build machines that could see and sense the world like people do, but on a scale that's not humanly possible? And that's what we've done with Worlds. So Worlds is a company that's actually working with some of the largest industrial companies in the world, and we're bringing AI-based automation directly into the physical operations of those companies. So think about how every day there's processes that are driving value in these businesses. But there's what my friend Ken Spangler at CIO FedEx says, we always drop money on the floor. So as a process breaks, we drop money on the floor. As someone does something wrong, money on the floor. So can we build AIs that can kind of watch and understand processes and help people, perform flawlessly, be more productive, more efficient, safer, all those things. And that's what we're doing today with Worlds.
Great intro. Tough follow. So I spent about a third of my life at Toyota. I also had multiple sabbaticals outside of the organization as well. Having seen the outside world, coming back and helping Toyota lead the way we do software engineering here is really a passion of mine. So I started back at Toyota around 2003. Been developing software for a while, saw some of the challenges of developing in a corporate environment. In 2016, we actually started Toyota Connected. We really are able to move fast and develop in-vehicle technologies that are deployed to our vehicles that we manage here today, right? So this is a startup within a large organization. We provide the safety for our employees to be able to do great things with the vehicles, right? And the biggest thing that I share with people is like, hey, you can go work on an app. It's not going to be here. It'll be here today, but gone tomorrow. How'd you like to work on a $60,000 device that lasts over 25 years, right? So that's a real sense of pride in what we do. That's what I do here at Toyota Connected. I have another job at Toyota Motor North America, leading enterprise AI.
You need more to do.
Yeah, of course, of course. That said, our goal is really to focus in that space to impact our business from nose to tail, from R&D all the way to after sales and quality, and how we enable AI for every one of those business units and bring them in a proper, responsible way, but also advances the business quite a bit as well. So we're a small group that just started, but we're really excited about the advancements, right? I think we all saw the opportunities and all the exciting things that we've heard here. It's truly gonna be a game changer, and we're on a rocket ship, and I think we're all on a rocket ship. Really excited to ride it to the moon.
Absolutely. All right. Well, with that, we'll go ahead and jump into the questions. Oop. The real questions. Done with the easy ones. All right. So this is a general question. So we'll go ahead and pass through the entire panel. And so the question is, artificial intelligence is transforming technology landscape faster and more radically than ever before. What can organizations and business leaders do to keep up with these rapid advances and to empower an innovative workforce?
I think there's multiple phases, right? On our group, we established charter of engaging, educating, discovering, and experimenting quite a bit. And I think we were discussing this earlier before we jumped on. I think we're in the first stages where we're playing with literally toy apps, right? And the key goal is to experiment, make sure the blast radius is small, people get used to the technology, they'll use it more and more and more. For instance, we have Microsoft. We're part of the early access program for Microsoft M365 Copilot, and the usage and the feedback has been extremely positive, primarily because when I share with my friends and my family, it's a time machine for me, right? When I have to review really long content and meeting notes and other things like that, I save a ton of time, right? So those type of safe experimentations, highly, highly encourage, and make sure there's buy-in at the very top leadership as well. We were lucky enough to have a really forward-thinking leadership group that said, hey, we see the power, run as fast as you can to experiment, but do it with safe guardrails. AI is no longer a bottom-up SaaS, right? Developer sold, and it grows in the organization. I think the way AI is going to be sold is going to be sold to CIOs and the board.
Maybe to set a kind of a context for the answer I'm going to say is that I think AI, one of the big changes we've seen in AI the last couple of years especially, is that AI is no longer just a tool. What we're seeing now is AI is becoming infrastructure. So there's not a company or a division of a part of a company that will not be affected by AI. And so what you're going to see is that there's AIs that will be underneath what we all do. So whether it's real world AI, the stuff that we're doing at Worlds, or back office AI, or using ChatGPT or these large language models for marketing, and building your own small language models in your company to kind of not have to, so you're not sending your proprietary information to train public AIs, but I think there's lots and lots of things you can do. We kind of, if you're a large company, you should have a chief AI officer. You should just have somebody whose sole purpose in their company is to actually pay attention to what's happening in the world with AI and how it can affect your company. In smaller companies like ours, we have a team, a team of people that are always paying attention. If you're in a company of more than 50 people, you probably have a lot of people that are already paying attention to all this stuff and what's happening with AI and some of the things that you should be thinking about doing. I agree with Dave that we are very early in the process. You can waste a lot of time if you run down a lot of rabbit trails, so part of it is not doing that. Part of it is having a group that's smart enough to understand that this is a real technology. Here's something that we could do. Can we build our own small language model that can help us language our content and our marketing and our PR and things like that? And can we use something like a Devon or something with our developers to augment their ability? Like I heard 60% of the code in GitHub is now written by AIs, but there's ways to augment people with AI and kind of give your people superpowers. And I think you just need a team or a person to kind of focus on that all the time.
Okay, I'm going to be a little contrarian, guys. So I do agree strongly. You need to get a budget immediately to go play with this technology. Bigger companies usually like to take their time and go through the standard processes, and I believe you don't have time to do that. I personally believe there is a race going on right now, and it is table stakes. Like, you have to have artificial intelligence deployed now, because everybody else is going to capture a lot of productivity gains through doing this, and CEOs are going to start being measured on what they're doing. And then when that happens, everybody has to go do it. So I believe strongly what has happened recently, and this didn't click for me till like January, so I feel like I'm late. But all the AI coding copilots, maybe they get you 85% of the way there, but it's on this curve that in like 6 months, it'll get you 99% there, and then 99.9%. Like, it's the equivalent of dumping 10 million developers on the market, and you can go build whatever you want. Like, SaaS is dead. Will be dead. And artificial intelligence platforms will be the only tech companies left, because why go pay for stuff that you can build in weeks now, right? It doesn't make sense. So I'm sure like a lot of people in the audience, so many smart people out here, you guys were ahead of me on this, but I see it because I've done it, and I got back in and I tried building some of these things in languages I've never used before, and it works. Like, it's scary awesome. So I think if you don't, you're going to be punished, like, as a company.
So I'm going to take a little bit of a different perspective, a little bit, but that's why we have a great panel. I think where I want to go with it is how we started was govern. I need to be able to govern it. When you're in a high-tech, high-growth company, one side of the business that generates the product is telling you have to do it. There's not an opportunity to say, no, it's innovate or die in that space. So leveraging AI means that we have to learn from one another. And I took the term of governance. I create the cross-functional teams, everyone in the business, everyone in the company, different groups, accounting, finance, IT, security, engineering, R&D, they all have a seat at the table. And that's where we learn from one another and try not to go down the rabbit holes. But we're looking at how this technology can help the business in the front office and the back office. I think the other thing that does for us is, because you're 100% correct, measurement is going to be the next big boulder, big rock that we have to uncover. And I was talking to a colleague and he said, yeah, my CEO came down with it with the company goals for the year. We want a 9-figure return on AI and productivity. How do you even measure the 9 figures? But that means that they're going AI for everything. And even in our company, we're looking at AI to make our teams smarter, give them that superpower. And I think that collusion, that governance component of it. And also when you have the use, we got to think about the speed bumps. So this is the security side of me. I can't say no, but I do want to be the house of KNOW and tell them how to do it. And just in case you get outside of the guardrails, I want to push a button or bump to say, are you okay? Is that the right thing to do? And if it is, document it so I can come back and talk to you later.
Amazing insights. So I think the key takeaway for me is kind of a combination of guardrails and governance is important, but get on or get left behind. So the next question is for Dave Tsai. And of course, one of the reasons that we're here and one of the exciting parts of this seminar is having the discussion about the intersection of artificial intelligence and the automotive sector. And I think it's one of the areas that is absolutely fascinating, but it's also one of the areas that has the highest stakes. And so the question is, in terms of vehicle technology, how are AI innovations enhancing safety, efficiency, and user experience?
So what gets built here is the user experience in cabin. So I'll talk about that. I'll talk about safety as well. AI enhances our user experience primarily because we have the capability to serve up really contextual information for the driver when they need it, right? Instead of telling the voice agent, take me to Starbucks on Legacy West, the context there is actually take me to Starbucks because we know that you've been here already multiple times based on preferences and anonymized data as well with the customer opt-in, of course. And that's the safety part. We take our customer privacy very, very seriously. We transparently communicate how we use our customers' data as well to ensure that we're delivering the highest level of experience with the utmost privacy and transparency as well. In terms of ADAS as well as safety, I'll talk about safety very specifically because one of my teams that sits over there, it builds the SOS button in the vehicle and the auto collision notification. That is one piece of technology that we will never take a human out of the equation. Of the calls that I hear from our operations, we are there for our customers whenever they need us the most. When they get into a car crash, when the vehicle is stolen, or when we're trying to locate a missing person as well. With all that said, there are right places for AI to be applied. There are other places where they're not.
Thank you. And also, just to set the stage, so we do have several questions that are targeted towards each of you based on your individual backgrounds. I think there's a lot of fantastic, unique experience here, but there's also a lot of overlap. So to the extent that any of you do have additional commentary or something that you want to add, feel free to jump into the questions that we had for the individual panelists as well. So the next question is for Dave Kops. So how does integrating artificial intelligence into manufacturing operations improve efficiency and product quality?
Yeah. Well, that's actually one of the things that we do in our business, so I think what we didn't realize when we started the business, and a lot of people are struggling with this, is training AI for the real world is hard. It's very, very hard. So teaching AI about the real world is difficult. Today what you have is literally millions of people drawing billions of boxes. Like, when you teach an AI that's a camera, you draw a box around it and say camera. You have to do that 10,000 times before it knows camera is different from the stand that it's on, right? And then so drawing boxes around people and saying person, drawing a box around dog and saying dog. But what the problem's been, is that the training is, the models are static, but the real world is dynamic, especially where people are involved. Wherever people are involved, there's variability, right? And so things change. And so when models are built, they're static. And as the world changes, the models break. And so that was the biggest challenge that we saw, in manufacturing especially. So So my answer to this question actually changed 2 weeks ago. We actually released a new product 2 weeks ago. It's kind of a radical reinvention of our existing platform, where we're really flipping the entire AI training industry. So no more drawing boxes. Like you literally turn your cameras on, connect your WorldSynQ product into your cameras, and it starts to index the world. It indexes everything it sees automatically with no one drawing boxes. So we're actually killing that. We're flipping the entire AI training industry from a top-down manual, human-in-the-loop process to a bottoms-up, fully automated AI system. So I think that's going to change a lot of things in manufacturing, because one of the things that's holding us back from putting AI in manufacturing is training. 60% of our time was spent training AI models and then fixing the models. The state of the art is today, outside of our company, that you build a model, you wait for it to break, you fix it, you wait for it to break, you fix it, and that's the thing. So when people are building these models for you, they're actually giving you something that's incomplete. It's about to break. So that's that's the business. So I think, now with training kind of solved, it opens up possibility now. So now that I can create an index of everything automatically, now I can work with an AI, I can create agents, and I can create applications that solve real problems. Let me know when there's a manager on the floor. Let me know when there's a door open. We have a client that has 77 doors in their facilities. And one of the problems they're having is when the doors are open, people can come in and steal pharmaceuticals. And that's one pallet has $2 million in pharmaceuticals on it. So it's a real problem. So they put door sensors on, right? Well, door sensors tell you when the door's open, but if there's a truck there, it's supposed to be open, right? So door sensors don't work. They do work. The door's open, but it's occupied. It's okay. So they had 100,000 false positives a month. So we replaced that by creating context between a camera and the door sensor. The door sensor says the door is open. The camera says, yeah, but there's a truck there. Don't send an alert. Now the truck pulls away and the door is open. Now it's open and unoccupied. That's an alarm. Somebody needs to close the door. So you can use AI. You can kind of combine sensors together to create context, right? So sensors can work with each other to create context, just like we do. Like when you look at a door, it's occupied, but a door sensor has no freaking idea, right? So I think what the idea of convergence that you talked about, Hutch, earlier is really important. So we're seeing a convergence of technologies today that's allowing us to have AIs that perform a lot more like we do. Like they're able to sense the world like we do, but at a scale that's just crazy. So I think it's about to change really, really fast for manufacturing. Yeah.
So, I mean, you said something really important, but just to put it in context, when I saw what he launched about this unsupervised learning, I wanted to throw half my platform away. Meta created something, they beat Meta. This is going to change the world. Not having to actually do any training and just have context start. It's pretty awesome. Anyway.
Thanks, Dean.
Yeah, and I do think that's largely the wave of the future of where we're moving, is we're trying to build bigger and bigger models with more data. And in order to continue to do that, we're going to have to move away from supervised learning and move more to those unsupervised and self-supervised learning capabilities. Thank you for the insights. Next, Lamont. So generative artificial intelligence is drawing new attention to existing data security risks. How should organizations be thinking about managing the balance between enabling their organization while also avoiding the right level or providing the right level of attention to those risks?
So I think that's a great question just in general, because, ChatGPT changed the world. When we start hearing about ChatGPT, I don't believe I've ever heard as much chatter since the year 2000, when everything was supposed to stop and the world was going to end. And we made it. So when we talk about the LLMs and we talk about the generative AI, it's more of using guardrails. This goes back to a lot of the governance conversation. Every technology that you use in your organization of sort is going to have an AI in it. But do you know what it does? So we need to ask the questions of those companies. Then we need to understand what the data is. Data is the currency. No matter what, data is the currency when we're starting to talk about AI. We're not chasing endpoints anymore. We could care less. We're not chasing the identity. We care, but we care more about what type of access governance we have on what's the resource, what's the user, what's the group. So you need to go back and look at the taxonomies around the data flow. That is the currency. And once you look at where that data flow, you can make determinations. Do we want to give access to this LLM or to this generative AI for this particular set of data? And if we don't, then we make sure we don't have access to it. But I think visibility and being able to discover that is where we fall short. Data has always been our currency. but there's always been other things that have been more important. There's been firewalls, there's been the endpoint, there's been all of these other things, and now we've arrived where none of that matters. Everybody can have whatever device they want. They're going to do it on a medium of whatever they choose. When we start talking about when did the iPhone come out, that iPhone could only do a couple of things, like you said. Now it can go make my car come to me if I wanted it to. So it's one of those types of things. It's my car key, it's my home key. It's all of those things. So when you need to have those levels and layers of coaching, and I'll call it coaching and mentoring for our team members and our workforce to say, this data doesn't go here, please don't. This data's over here and it shouldn't be, let me help you. And it's more of that, I'm security, I'm here to help. So that changes the whole paradigm from my profession as well, because it's usually we're security and we're here to stop you. And we have to make sure that we have those controls, those monitoring, that mechanism and that action to be able to govern that data. And I think that's the best way to do the balance, but don't say no. Because when you say no, you create everything that we call shadow, whatever name you want to call it, because it will happen.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you mentioned that I really resonated with me is you can try to adjust those data security problems all day long, but at the end of the day, you're just playing whack-a-mole until you get that cultural change and actually, like you said, coaching people, making sure that they're actually thinking through the way that they're handling data. Okay, next one, Skip. So based on your experience and insights, what are your predictions for the next big breakthroughs, next big breakthroughs in AI and robotics?
So we have an hour, right? Yeah. Yeah, dude, thank you for the easy one. So I kind of alluded to like a lot of labor optimization. Like, look, Gen AI has a moment right now. And those that understand what it is and how it works, it's pretty cool. It feels very transformative. It's a batch process, micro batch process. We use convolutional neural networks for computer vision, so we have context around that. But yeah, so really after the whole world shifts, because this is not like, with all due respect to Jensen, who's brilliant, right? I don't think it's an iPhone event or an internet event. It's like 10 internet events. Mm-hmm. It's like gigantic what is happening, and people understand it finally. Like they got to do something with this. So yeah, after this bubble happens, and people probably 2 years, you got about before people and companies realize, oh my gosh, look at all this massive productivity gains. Yes, we're going to take it. The next bubble, because I'm biased, is going to be IoT at the edge on devices for this real-time AI. You know, being able to sense things in real time, and then you have like, I'm sure some people are going to probably add to this, but I think like next year the consensus is you're going to have conductors for all these narrow AI systems, right? And then actions that can be driven, kind of like how APIs work, right? From all of these niche and narrow AIs. And are we going to call that general AI? I don't know. I think the math has to significantly change for that to happen. AGI, sorry. But I think the sensor-based stuff is coming. And ultimately, what you can do today, the reason I say that, is you can run AI on robotics and on these IoT things that outperform people. The world of automation is just like coming like a wave. And the only reason I'm saying like the next 2 to 5 years is because it just takes us a little while to catch up as a species. We're slow. Otherwise it'd happen right now. I think that's the next bubble. And I like I said, I'm biased because we're building that and we've been building that. And it's crystal clear that's what's possible as soon as people realize it.
I'll add to that, please. Yeah, just to put fuel on that fire. A really interesting thing happened at Davos about 3 weeks ago, and Jan LeCun, who's probably one of the top AI scientists in the world, right? He's at Meta. He said something I thought was fascinating. His two things I thought were fascinating. One is that, with LLMs, we're out of data. Think about it. We've already given them all the data in the world. So ChatGPT in 3.5 is 46 terabytes of information, right? Billions of words, right? We've already given it all the information. We'll make more, but for all intents and purposes, we've used all the data. But then he said something I thought was really fascinating. He said a 4-year-old child knows 50 times more than the largest large language model. And the reason is because what Skip just said is that, we can learn a lot through text and images, but we really learn about the world through observation and experience, like being in the world. That's how we learn about the world. And so what's happening now, again, just to pile on what Skip just said, is that we're giving AI that ability to observe and experience the world through sensors, right? So we've already spent tens of billions of dollars on sensors, Toyota Connected, I can't even imagine the number, right? But there's sensors everywhere. Cameras are becoming the most important sensor because they can be lots of different types of sensors. Cameras can not only sense what things are, but if it's, the state, is it full, is it empty, is it hot, things like that. But so I think we're in for a really incredible change in the world. And Jan LeCun called it large world models. So large language models learn from images and text. Large world models learn from data from our sensors and IoT devices. But we're going to start to have AIs that can make sense of that and start to understand the world better than they ever have before.
Next question, back to another general one for each of you. So while AI offers the promise of innovation, it is not without risk. There are numerous challenges to contend with: reliability, security, harmful bias, and others. How should organizations strike a balance between capitalizing on the value of AI while minimizing those risks?
I think to minimize the risk, specifically, try with small blast radius. Try internally, try with a control group, collect feedback, reward people who give you feedback and help train your model and to make it better, right? But you also need to have a cross-functional group to be looking at that feedback and truly testing certain things out. I think we can probably, many people here can probably attest to what they've seen on what Gemini has released and the debacle that has plagued Google regarding some of the images and some of the responses that it's generated, right? But it will get messier. Our job really is to put guardrails around this and make sure that we do this responsibly, right? So make it visible, make it small, try, and retry.
Yeah. I get asked that question a lot, and I always tell people that anyone who tells you they know a lot about AI and they're not scared is lying. The more you know about it, the more it's scary, right? I just came back from a conference in California, and it was interesting because at the beginning of the conference, they asked everybody, are you excited about AI or scared about AI? On day one, 90% said they were excited about AI and 10% they were scared. On day three, after day three, it was 65-35. So an additional 25% of the people after the conference were more scared than they were excited. So it's I think it's a very powerful technology. So this convergence that we're seeing, at the crux of the convergence is AI. It's AI in biology, AI in agriculture, AI in autonomous vehicles, AI in this, AI in that. AI is at the crux of every industry. So we're seeing this convergence of things that we've never seen before. Usually convergence happens like there's one convergence happening at a time. Now we have multiple convergences happening at the same time. So I think it's good that we see Sam Altman and people like that openly saying that there needs to be regulation. I agree that there needs to be regulation. I just think there's a responsibility, and you can kind of hear it in their voice. I heard Sam talking the other day, and he said, they're talking about what they're going to release out, and his answer was basically they're holding a lot of stuff back. So there is a responsibility there in what they're releasing to the public when they release it. But this is transformational technology that will literally change everything about humanity, and so it's going to change how we work, what work means. It's going to change how we co-evolve with technology for the first time in our human existence. Right? We're not going to just work with technology. We're going to co-evolve with AI. And so I think it's really important that we do regulate it and that we pay attention to it. Nuclear weapons, we had a big, we agreed as a world to collaborate on nuclear weapons. Well, guess what? Nuclear weapons can't make more nuclear weapons. AIs can make more AIs. So this could potentially be more important than nuclear weapons. So I do think we also need kind of a global, you talked about earlier, Hutch, that there's a race happening right now. The bad thing about races is that you don't pay attention to things like that. You just go as fast as you can because you want to be the first one there. And so I don't like races. Races are bad, and there's a huge race going on with AI.
Agreed. Yeah, and we're not the only country doing it, right? So that should be a little scary. I'll say tactically, some ways to kind of de-risk it. If you're going to run Gen AI, like use RAG models. You're not training OpenAI's models or Gemini. You're just make a closed system. All the tools are free, like Ollama, LangChain. It's all free, right? So you don't have to go pay somebody a bunch of money to create a little private LLM. So you can go do that. On the other side, something that scares me, I'm personally one of those people that's not a believer that the Terminator is going to come anytime soon. Like, if you understand how this really works, I'll take 2 seconds here. Traditional programming, just for those that are like more business oriented, you have an input, you write an algorithm, and you get an output. AI is you write an input, you give it an expected output, and the computer writes the algorithm, right? A human being has to define what the expected output is. That's why I don't think we're going to get Terminators, right? But what does scare me, and you'll know a lot about this, is deepfakes, right? If you have a voicemail, if you've been on YouTube, you should be worried a little bit, because it's getting very sophisticated. And you thought spam was bad. Oh my gosh, just wait till you're impersonated, right? And that is happening real time, and it's going to get really bad.
The election.
Yeah, the election's a great example. I think, was it Biden had a robocall that wasn't real? It wasn't him, right? I mean, that's one example. But anyway, I can't wait to hear you.
All right, you took my deep fake. That was my scary one, but I got another one.
Sorry.
Hey, a deep fake in a boardroom giving a state of security speech is horrible. That is horrible. So I'm super excited about it. Number one, I do agree that you start small, but I also want to say that you start with something that you know what's in the realm of possible for an outcome. And when anything repeatable. So repeatable tasks, especially in a security program, whether that's your SOC, whether that's your security engineering teams, repeatable tasks, you know what the outcome should be. And you know the fidelity of the data. More importantly, you know the fidelity of the data going in versus having the opportunity to maybe have one of those hallucinations or having someone tamper per se with the model and give you some erroneous type of output. And then as I start to look at what scares me more about is the poisoning and the security around the models and around the data that goes into the models. We're still trying to figure out what even to look for. From my perspective, every company that wants to do business with my company sends me a questionnaire, 500 questions, death by 1,000 cuts, and they ask questions about AI, do you secure your models? And it's either yes or no. You're still not asking what are we trying to secure and how we look at it and where we look at different things. So I think that part of it is really terrifying to me, that we don't have the standards, the guidelines to even understand what good security is around some of the models. And I think the other piece of this is self-reliance. We're going to start small, we get success. We're going to go larger, we get what we believe success, and then we're going to lose connectivity of some sort or have a disruption. And that's what our hackers and our bad actors will do. They'll disrupt us. Do we remember how we used to do it? So now we've crippled the business.
All right, well, last round of questions, then we'll let you guys get another drink. So Dave Tsai. So it's hard to have a conversation about AI and automotive without discussing the topic of autonomous driving. So what are your perspectives on the future of autonomous driving, and where do you see that going?
Autonomous is really, really, really hard. There are so many variables that are out there to program for. I mean, frankly, the last I heard about FSD specifically is that they tore down the entire model from FSD 11 to FSD 12, right? What they're doing now is specifically a perception-based learning. And what they're doing is having humans train that as well, right? But are we going to get there? We will eventually get there. Once there's enough learning, once there's enough mileage driven of all the variable conditions that are out there, absolutely. Is it ready for the full consumer? I don't necessarily think so yet, right? Given the different driving conditions. However, the specific use cases for transportation, long haul trucking, that is a perfect use case. There's a lot of roads and regulations that prevent just human drivers from driving more than, 12 or 8 hours, right? In a row. That's a perfect use case, and a human can actually supervise that and do the bill of lading upon delivery as well. So those are opportunities that are out there. The technology will get there at some point. The SoCs, the hardware in the vehicle, will get cheap enough. Can we do it solely with camera? Probably not. Not at the level that we want, but it will get here.
All right, Dave Kopps. What are the challenges of deploying AI solutions in traditional manufacturing environments, and how can they be overcome?
I think I already answered that one.
Did I?
Zero-
Yep. I got others. We'll give you the future one.
Okay.
So what's coming next in AI, and how will it change how? And I think we've already discussed this to some extent, but how will it change how we're operating today?
Man, again, my week's been kind of crazy. I've just been, it's like I've been a fire hose of just what's coming. And I'll tell you one experience I had, which is kind of interesting. This guy named Stephen Brown, he's got this idea that what if we can create AIs that can work with each other to change the world, like without humans. And so he put on stage, he had Socrates and Plato. And so he took all the writings of Socrates and created an LLM. He created all Plato's documents and created an LLM for Plato, and then he connected them with voice and and so the interesting thing that happened was he threw a prompt at Socrates and said, what's the next great technology? How's it going to change the world? Socrates answered, and then invited Plato to come in, and Plato heard what Socrates said and had his opinion. And they went back and forth and talked to each other. Now it's a little bit of a puppetry thing, like because it's LLMs just kind of talking about stuff, right? But you did start to realize that there's going to come a time when there's so much information. Like right now, you heard about this, NVIDIA and Blackwell, the new chip that just came out. It's going to allow trillion parameter LLMs, which is just unbelievable. So we're gonna the ability for these LLMs to compute language. What you're going to have as AIs are going to get really freaking creative. I mean, we're going to develop new physics that we've never seen before. We're going to develop new biology. We're going to understand things about biology we've never understood before because of AI and our ability to kind of compute and to think about things differently and more creatively. Everybody kind of heard about AlphaGo, years ago with Google, right? If we think about why that was an important moment, with Big Blue and stuff like that, and chess, there's only 400,000 moves. You can program that in, right? But AlphaGo, there are more potential moves in AlphaGo than there are atoms in the universe. So you can't program in the moves. So they had to create an AI that could play itself in the game thousands and thousands of times in a really short period of time and learn how to beat the best human in the world. And it did that. There's move 37 where it created this move where the best Go player in the world saw the move and got up and walked out of the room because it didn't make any sense at all. The AI was being creative beyond what a human could do. So there's no reason that AIs won't be creative in biology and be creative in agriculture and be creative in, so we're going to see the world is going to change, and we're going to see things we've never seen before faster than we've ever seen it before. So I'm excited about that. There's a word I'll throw at you called FOOM. It's not in the dictionary, and I stumped ChatGPT on it too. So yeah, but FOOMing is the ability to understand what you need to know and to learn it. Right. So people do that. We FOOM. AIs aren't FOOMing yet, but that's what's next, right? Is that AIs will learn they'll learn what they need to know. They'll understand what they need to know and know how to learn it. When we get to that point, AGI will happen quickly, and so it's going to get really interesting. But I'm personally really excited about it. I'm not scared by it. I think it's going to change the way we work. I don't think we'll have to work as hard. These 80-hour work weeks we created are stupid, so let's not do that anymore. Like let's let AIs do the easy stuff, and let's augment ourselves and create a more enjoyable life, more enjoyable work, more productive work. And so I'm actually pretty excited about it. But it's going to be a hell of a ride. Just buckle up.
Awesome. All right, Skip. As someone passionate about advancing technology knowledge, how important is community building and knowledge sharing in the field of AI and computer vision?
Hello, test. Yeah. Actually, I'm a huge fan of community building. Wise man once told me, Dallas is where you go to get stuff done, right? And I think Dan was talking about how we want to be this AI capital, which is fantastic. Babar's here. He's the head of Dallas AI. Like we are where practical AI happens. This is where you apply AI. Right? This is the city that can do it. Yep. And I think we can do it better than anybody else, but you're not going to do it in silos, right? So joining groups like AI Connects, my group is Computer Visionaries, but it's geared towards developers. Dallas AI, come on, where are we? Tech Titans, thank you. Right over here with Paul. So Tech Titans is another really important organization you can join. Like if you don't like take the approach, I know I'm like all doom and gloom tonight, right? I get it, but you got our iron sharpens iron kind of philosophy. You've got to help each other if you want to really become a destination, because somebody's going to win. There's going to be a lot of winners in this race, unfortunately or fortunately, either way. There's going to be winners. Why not our city, right? The only way it's going to happen is if you cooperate, co-opetition. We have a little crossover, but I love this guy, right? So community is like critical if you're going to reach like any kind of, if you're going to outperform any other city or you name it, right? And community is how you do that, right? So just I would say maybe take the approach of being helpful and being of service instead of take only, which is so easy to say. But this is such a brand new field. There's so much to learn. One person cannot keep up. It changes literally daily and weekly by orders of magnitude, right? So you're not going to be able to do it on your own. So even if you wanted to, that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. All right. And to close us out, leave us on a high note. No
All right,
pressure.
what you got for me?
All right, Lamont. In what ways can AI help companies become more proactive rather than reactive in their cybersecurity strategies?
So I think that the use of AI, that's where it shines, and that's where we really want to use it. What are we have lots of data, security data, telemetry data, attack data. We have all of these different data points, but we can't get to it. Our teams get alert fatigue. And I think what it'll allow us to do is we can create and share those indicators. Talk about community. Security is a discipline that has had fits and starts in sharing and how to share and what we can share. But I think with AI, we actually have a chance to really share faster. Time to value, time to innocence, to know what actually happened. And also using some of those AI tools to help us with the questions. We're all going to have security incidents in our companies. That doesn't translate to a breach all the time, but there will be an incident. So we always want to know, what did they have? What did they have access to? So AI can help us determine that very quickly, have an opinion, and then give that back to the necessary parties if we have to report it, or in the case where we need to actually just talk to that employee and let them know that, hey, you can do this a different way, but we understand you're trying to do your job. So I think that helps us get to a conclusion very quickly. So I'm very excited about how we use it. I think we just all need to again, go back to governance and go back to building community and sharing, because it's changing. I would say it's changing every 30 minutes at this point, because the AI is generating something else. But that's how we stay on top of it. And that's how we become not only making Dallas one of the centers and metroplexes for it, but we compete in the country and making the country a thought leader in it.
Thank you. All right. Well, I have to say, fantastic insights overall. Let's give our panelists a hand. Are you guys up for a few minutes of audience Q&A? Do we have any questions in the audience for any of the panelists? Yes.
Retail question for Skip.
Retail question for Skip. All right, there we go.
Amazon recently announced that they're shutting down 8 of the 28 Go stores. What's the reason behind that? Is it technology not ready, or is it cost? Is it other issues?
Check. Yeah, here we go. Yes, I will try to turn this into a 2-minute answer instead of a 30-minute answer. So for those, the question was, why is Amazon shutting down its Just Walk Out technology stores? First, does anybody here work for Amazon?
There's one in the back, my friend Shushan and some
One person?
few people.
Please don't cancel my account. I love it. Just kidding. Yeah, so if you look at how they built it, right? I wrote a white paper on this when they were launching, and this is just my opinion. So it's a bunch of like, oh, I see how I would do this if I'm the retailer, and that retailers are who we serve, right? So if you look, there's about 4 different principles on why I believe it's not working the way they wanted it to work. first of all, in computer vision, when you have to have a product that looks different enough, right, in order to get a higher confidence score. So for example, if I have 2 cans of tuna fish and one word says spicy on it, and that's the only change, I'm gonna get a low confidence score on which one it is. I'll know it's tuna, but I don't know which one it is. So if you walk in there, you're gonna see there's a lot of products that look very different in an Amazon store, which means you have a smaller product set you can even offer your clients, right? So that's number one. Number two, if you also look at the way they're doing this with the overhead cameras, again, this is just my interpretation, right? I happen to may or may not have hacked this when I went in there, right? They're looking at a pose estimation. That's pretty easy enough to find out who's inside of the store. And they're looking at the shelves and monitoring them in real time. They're looking for a change detection. So if you pull a product out from underneath, or it's the accuracy of the change detection isn't good enough, like they don't actually know you took that. And then even what makes it worse is if you put it back somewhere, like there's a percent of the time they don't catch that. And so what you'll find in an Amazon store is they have an employee that walks around and cleans up your mess to make the tech work better. And that's how I would have done it. And of course, there's an employee cleaning up my mess, right? And so not that there's shortcuts, but that's just like they got to a point where they had to execute and pull the trigger. And so if that employee doesn't do his or her job very well, the store is not going to work. But I would say the big killer is just the cost that it takes to run these things. So yeah, we all read it was like $1 billion R&D budget or something insane for a 1,600 square foot store, and they distilled it down, and I believe the cost is still low, but like the margins in retail, it's like 2%, right? And yeah, you have a labor component. Inventory and labor are the highest costs of any retail, right? So yeah, you cut some labor out, but like because you can't offer a bigger product suite, and because it costs so much to deploy this to a Walmart, for example, like you're kind of bound to this small footprint, right? It makes it very difficult to expand. And so one last point I will make specifically about computer vision, which is what that technology is based off of. In computer vision, and Dave knows this well, it's a symbiotic relationship about how you do data collection and how your algorithms perform. Your camera resolution matters, the field of view matters, the lighting conditions matter. There's so many variables that you have to control, and just buying cameras off the shelf, you're gonna hit these ceilings, right? And so to me, it looks like they're using a combination of time of flight and color camera, monocular vision color cameras. And those are very expensive in order to get the granularity you need from a shelf from being in the ceiling. And so just the cost to build this out is just insane.
Same reason vertical farms are.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Same reason vertical farms aren't working, right? So that was my takeaway. And there's a whole bunch of other tech like cell phone tracking and weight sensors and all this stuff, which I could go on and on about why that's not the best. But I do agree strongly with Dave. Computer vision has the highest probability of success for camera as a sensor technology that you can use multimodal ways to pull this stuff off. And we're doing it, so we know it's possible. But that's my opinion. Please don't cancel my Amazon Prime.
Very good. Can you hear me? Awesome. I'm in the banking industry, and I love any time and any opportunity I get to learn about AI, how we can integrate it and implement it in our lives. So thank you for this event. But my question is, I have 2 boys who are very young, and in my opinion, my humble opinion, I believe the educational industry is not adapting to AI technology. What would you say, what would you recommend as a way to help them accelerate that integration and implementation of AI?
Start by adapting to the internet first.
I love that question. I'm actually working with the Dallas Regional Chamber on that. I'm trying to get the DIST to adopt AI in schools, like to give every child an AI. So I don't know if you've heard about Conmigo. So Khan Academy, they created this thing called Conmigo, where every child can have their own AI. And they're finding out in the early tests that kids love them because AIs aren't judgmental. AIs don't, they're not mean. They're not, They can also do things that a teacher can't do. Like with Conmigo, you can actually interview the Mississippi River. Like, you can interview the river, and the river will talk back to you, and you can ask it questions and things like that. And then it'll write stories with you and things like that. So my goal is to have 140,000 AIs with every student in the ISD. We're going to try. I think we're going to pilot two to 4 schools next year. So. But I'll add to your kind of question is I think there's 2 areas that are going to be affected by AI more than any other areas. One of them is biology, and the other one's education. I also talk with lots of colleges. I do talks out there to talk to students about that. You have those hallway conversations where the students will come out, the college students will come out and we'll talk for an hour just after the talk. And I'll tell you the thing that was really disconcerting, the comment I'm hearing more and more from college students is, what's the point? Why am I doing this? Why am I paying this education when it's just going to be an AI? Like that, I'm hearing that more and more. It's really concerning. I think it's overplayed. I think you can tell kids and tell college students deep domain expertise is one thing. Be really good at something. It doesn't have to be AI. AI is going to be a part of everything, but be really good at something, and use AI to be even better. So that's the conversation. But in schools, especially in colleges, one thing that's disconcerting is they're talking about AI like, oh, how do we teach people about AI? No, that's not the point. The point is, how do you incorporate AI as part of curriculum? That's the question. And that's what educational institutions are really pushing back on. And it's more about teachers. The kids will be fine with AI. It's just the teachers that need help. So we're talking about building a training group, and having training where teachers come in once a quarter for AI training, And so I think it's a great question. I think it's going to be one of the 2 areas that's affected more than anything else in the world. And I hope, it will help. Last story is there was a group of 18 African children that were given Conmigo for 12 months. They were illiterate when they started. 12 months later, all were literate.
One picture each, so that we can send to them later. Close up.
I think this is going to be the last question because we are running out of time. So she raised the hand first. So sorry.
Thank you. My name is Neetu Jain. I love the panel today. My question is sort of related to what Evelyn asked and related to community buildings. So I saw there are a lot of nonprofits here. Nonprofits don't have as much expertise or developers, etc., to adopt AI. At the same time, I'm a product manager by profession. I'm an executive director product at JPMorgan Chase. I see this gap that not every developer or product, etc., is getting to work on AI to be able to skill up, right? So I see this opportunity that people who want to work in AI to set themselves up for success for next few years, but they don't get side gigs kind of thing to be able to do that work. And there are nonprofits who wants to adopt AI and do this kind of work, but they don't have resources, right? What can we create to build a community where communities like AI Connects, Dallas AI, I run Women in Product in DFW area. So there are many members of our communities who'd love to skill up on AI, right? They probably will be willing to volunteer their time. How can we connect these institutions that can benefit from each other and have a win-win?
So I think there's one thing about that, and it goes back to something that we talked about on the panel before. It's not doing it ourselves. I don't think we need to create anything. I think we need to tap in. So these groups that were mentioned before, even in the security community, Dallas has a strong, very, very strong cybersecurity community. Any one of those security leaders would love to come and talk to your nonprofit and work with you and even make some of their systems available to you. And for our children, our young children, I can't emphasize enough the robotics programs. First Robotics is a great organization, another nonprofit that gets young people really thinking about it. They can start at kindergarten and go all the way up through their collegiate years and really understand coding and understand where AI is applicable. Again, using AI to make you better, but not using AI as a subject of teaching.
Just a couple other points. The tools themselves are free. There's no resources required to go build your own LLM or interface with an LLM or I mean, and YouTube is free. So like learning this is free, right? It's just time. So if you need guidance and all of that, I think the city's full of mentors. I don't know. Well, you're the education guy. You finish it up.
I think all technologies previous to AI had high barriers to entry. With AI, the language of AI is English. So, because I get asked a lot about equity and inclusion, right? Is AI going to be this super class of people and everybody's cut out? It should be exactly the opposite. It should be exactly the opposite. Because English is the language you can use to interact with AIs, everybody can use it. Everybody can, it's not, they literally came out with this program last week called Devin, and it's basically an AI engineer. But now anyone can talk to Devin and build an app, like anybody. And that's not there yet, only 15% of, you can only use it about 15% of the time. But that's pretty damn good for just starting, right? So I think that it's gonna really, if we do this right, everybody should have access, everybody will have access to AI. They may even have their own AI. Like they will all have our own AI that helps us in everything that we do. And so that should be a real democratization across the world with AI. The barriers are disappearing.
AI is the tutor for life. I have 2 young kids. I have Kamigo subscription for them, and they're growing up with it, and it's highly contextualized to what they're learning in school, right? As they get older, I'm gonna have them, I have them using ChatGPT as well to use and learn and to tutor them. I can't tell you how much better the relationship with my kids are because we're not struggling with some of the learning as well, because I think like Skip or Dave said, AI does not judge you. It's really friendly. It's literally Baymax 6 there to help you, right? So that's what's really cool about this. And like Skip said earlier, the resources are there. The time needs to be made. And I think a program can be created with a very wide set of resources that are already out there.
And so I discovered AI through my own needs as an educator, and also as an English learner, and also as a community leader. So it's very important that you guys that are in this facility, that you coordinate with underserviced students and community resources such as Hispanohablantes, where you can sponsor a location like this, that we can have the technology and we bring in the technology for the students to learn. I will tell you that just today we enrolled a student that would benefit a lot from AI. I work with English learners, and please, I'm not representing the district that I work with. This is Hispanohablante speaking. And I see it in our Hispanic community. There's so much need in regards to AI, so it really comes back to what are we doing in here to provide that opportunity for the students. So the message would be, find an organization that you can bring AI and leverage it for everyone. I will tell you that growing up is in a very, I grew up in an Adobe home. And so I left Mexico when I was 3 years old. So I didn't get all the grammar of my native language. Now I came to the United States by 3rd grade. I didn't know the language, so I didn't receive, again, the grammatical instruction in English. So by the time I got to high school, I was still an English learner. Was the first one in my family to graduate. Now as a teacher, and this goes back to the question with education, what I'm trying to tell my peers and my educators is that it's filling up the gaps that we are missing. It will never replace us because the creativity is within us. But it gives us a structure. It gives us we're not working like back in the day to try to brainstorm all these ideas. For me, I use AI to help me structure, but it will not replace me. The creativity is me. So I tell AI what to do. It helps me with the process. Now with the language, in front right here talking to you guys, I feel like sometimes I lack the vocabulary that I need to have a conversation with you guys that are very educated. And AI has leverage where my background, I have a lot of gaps in my education. I don't have the background that you guys grew up with, but AI is helping me to be here with you, understand what you're talking about, start my own business, and help me move. So I also started my own business with the help of AI. So that's to answer to your question. So please support organizations like Hispanohablantes and any so that we can give the students that don't have access to the tools to leverage their education and be one day like one of us here and just sharing our thoughts, right? Thank you.
Well, I think it's all right. I think it's time. I really appreciate all the speaker, moderator. I think we got the best, group of people here, in Texas for sure. So, you got a really good glimpse of the future. So I think again, appreciate everybody coming here. You want to say anything finally, before I maybe give a little closing at the end? Just
all good things must come to an end. I guess shameless plug for me. You guys enjoyed the doom and gloom portion of the segment. My book just came out a month ago, The Language of Deception, Weaponizing Next Generation AI. So all the doom and gloom you could want.
Yeah. And I have one copy. I forgot to bring it for him to sign. So, next one for sure. Yeah. Thanks everybody here again. Appreciate your help. Yeah. And I think we got to wrap it up. So, yeah. Well, I think before we wrap it up, I just wanted to make a quick announcement. Next month, we have another event at JP Morgan Chase. Saurabh over there, is our great sponsor. April 25th, that's when we're going to do AI in finance. And we're going to keep doing this every month. We are creating like a Netflix-like series. This month is AI in automotive. Next month, AI in finance. Month after, we're going to try to do like AI in healthcare, AI in sports, and it's going to keep on going and going. And then at the end of the day, we're going to be trying to help more and more nonprofit organization, the community. So appreciate everybody help, anything you can do to help us. Like Alma said, it's all about, really reaching out. And then we are creating AI Connects Outreach, which is going to be our nonprofit arm. So we're going to give more and more chance for people to participate in that one. So thanks again, everybody. And then one final thing, Harish, my good friend, one of the sponsor here, he actually have a big event coming up on the 30th. I just want him to give maybe a little quick.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Dan, for giving us the time. By the way, this is Harish, CEO of IFA Labs. IFA means AI for all. We have a big event coming up on March 30th. We are launching a generative AI platform, which helps the enterprises to accelerate their AI initiatives. I request all of you to join us. It will definitely, give you a lot of information, and we are trying to, bring out the platform which helps to accelerate small, medium, and large businesses. Thank you, Dan, for giving me this opportunity.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. IFA Lab, they have some flyer over there at the drink corner. If you want to join their party on the 30th at Omni Frisco, it's really going to be a good party for them as well. So thanks again, everybody. Appreciate it.